Welcome, my friends, to Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat, the podcast that never ends, where we gather our clan and talk about the peace and love in our lives, the difficulties along the journey, and how we rise up from them. We will experience a little thing I call Kluberty together, and by the end of the show, we're going to find our sweet spot. I'm Uncle Dave, and our transformation starts right here. Hey now, and how are you doing? Just want to welcome you to the next episode of Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. Today we have an amazing person that I've met. Along our journeys, we meet so many amazing people. And Noemi Beres, I have to tell you, we've connected on a few of the like Kami's pod hours, and we've met through other connections. And she's actually brought me guests, which we'll go into during the episode. So, how are you doing today, Noemi?
I'm very well, thank you, David. Apart from the minor earthquake we had this week, but
right. She's in Cyprus, so she's based in Cyprus. So there's definitely. So I'm glad that you're safe, and I guess the opportunity of being separated from the mainland is one of those benefits in this case, because it's been devastating, and we send our hearts out to all the people that are affected. I was watching this morning, and the number's over 11,000, and we know it's going to go higher. As a world, once you've experienced things like that. So tell us, how are you doing then?
Yeah, it was like talking about the fact that it was pretty close to us. It was a close call, so it's always scary. But yeah, we are fine, and my family is okay, and we are all fine. Okay, well, that's always
at the end of the day, that's really what is the most important thing for us, is that our families are fine. I was just writing something to somebody. Wealth is not necessarily about money and all the opportunities that we can use money. Because at the end of the day, you don't want your bank account standing next to you as you're going through a struggle. You want somebody to be right next side of you and stand in that foxhole. When something goes wrong in the house, even just thunder and lightning, what do? You look for your kids, you look for a partner, just to make sure that they're okay, that they're not outside in that affecting that.
That's so true. And I experienced a lot of loss in the past couple of years, because I lost my dad to cancer, I lost my grandma to an accident. So it was a lot of loss, and actually I just appreciated my family even more, and my son, my mother, who is my rock in my life. So yes, it's very important, and it doesn't really matter what kind of business you do and what you do in life, but once your family has, you have it by your side, that's just so very important.
100%. I realize that more and more, not only as you get older, because I think as we're younger, we also start to believe like everybody's going to be there forever, right? You never know, but you expect even grandma, grandpa to be there all our lives, because they have been. It's that consistency, and when you don't have it, I have to tell you from my own personal experience. I mean, like last year, my mom was on her transitioning her way out. My dad had already passed, and I lost one of my best friends. Plus, I'm separated from my wife. So it's just all those resources. And to go through those yourself, it's a challenge. I did, and I knew what resources I needed. But it's always nice when you have somebody to lean on. It's really powerful. And you're one of those people that others lean on as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, because we run our podcast agency, and, we work with amazing clients worldwide, in US, yep. UK, Canada. And we help them to get on podcast shows and help and share their knowledge, across the world and across broadcasts. So they rely on us, and obviously we rely on them too. So it's a win-win situation for both of us.
Yeah, no, and it's great, right? It's all about knowing people, the connections, sharing that energy. And so what are some of the things that bring you peace and love? Obviously, family, we were just talking about. This is Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. So we'd love to hear a little bit about your journey and what has brought you to this place in life.
Yeah, great questions. Very complex. I have a master's degree in Danish literature and history. I'm a linguist by trade. And I got my, university degree in Hungary. And back in the early 2000 years in Hungary, I was freshly graduated and I tried to find a job. I was rejected by most of the companies as a linguist. So it wasn't, probably the best job I could find. And so I didn't have many possibilities. And I was an only child in my family. But my mom told me when I had an opportunity to go abroad and to go to Ireland to get a job and to earn money and to start my life, that you should start your life and you should go. And she really pushed me. And I was a bit devastated because why my mom does that? And I knew that was probably the best decision she made. And she pushed me to reach towards our goal and to get out of the country that didn't really offer me anything at that stage and still not offering. And so that's how we ended up first in Denmark, then in Ireland with my husband. And we started our life there. It's completely, we were alone in the world. We just not so much money in our luggage, and we just 2 suitcases. We just left the country and got a job in Ireland, and we started our life there. And I ended up working in a call center in Ireland, and that was okay because as a freshly graduated person, with many languages, and there were other European, freshly graduated people there, and we had fun. But I always knew that I want more. I had other plans, and I always wanted to be my own boss. So that's when I made up my mind and told my husband after 3 years working in a call center, this is okay. This money pays our bills and everything, but I just want to be my own boss. I don't want to work for anyone. And I'm a Scorpio. I'm an only child. I love being alone, and I love working from home and working remotely. So yeah, let's start something. And that's how it all started for me. And it was in a big leap that we took in 2007. And that's when we started our own businesses, online businesses back in Ireland.
That's awesome. It's that perseverance. It's that knowing within. I talk about that in my book, which is going to be the sponsor of this episode. When your heart says it's your time to soar. But there's a story about my friend Kevin about perseverance and walking up a mountain that he physically would never have thought of doing, but he wouldn't want to give up. So you didn't give up. And so how'd you find that determination? It's not just being a single child. It's you knew the passions that you wanted to pursue and really what makes you happy, that most authentic self.
Yeah, I just knew it from the beginning. And because I had the support from my family, from my mom, and she helped me to get more self-confidence in life, because you told me, so honey, if you don't believe in yourself, who else is going to believe in you? And that's how it all started. And that's the push that I needed. And it helped me to get towards my goals in life.
Well, it sounds like your mom has pushed you a lot of times, and it's worked out well. So, I guess growing up, did she always push you? Was she one of your biggest supporters?
Yeah, my mom and my dad. Yeah, both of them. Absolutely, 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you've gone along this journey, this entrepreneur journey. How hard is it? We talk about facing things that are very difficult, and being an entrepreneur. You're really out there on your own. But the determination and perseverance is really one of those things that bring us to that next level.
I mean, you definitely need to be consistent and persistent during the way, because there are times when you just feel you're lost, and especially, we had our online travel related business from 2007 until 2020, and everything was fine. And, I was doing content creation. I was more into social media and stuff, but then COVID hit and, the travel industry collapsed. So we had to figure out to pay the bills, to live our life and, everything. So that's when Podcast Connections actually started. One of my husband's mentor told him, it's like, podcasting is the future. It's just like almost 3 million podcasts in the world.
Yep.
And so he was way more into the podcasting business than us. And he told us, do something in podcasting. And, that was the idea. That's like we needed. And that's when we started our podcast agency. But it was like a decision from one day to another when everybody told us that, the world going to be closed down for 2 days or 2 weeks or whatever. And everything is going to be fine after. Yeah. And it's still not. But and it was a big leap we took again. But it definitely was worth, because I think I found myself by changing my job and by connecting with people more and not working only in the background like I did with content creation and social media. So to be honest, I think it was for the good, because I feel much better because I connect with people worldwide. I can talk and I can express myself, and I'm kind of a creative person anyway. I'm an artist as well. So for me, it's important to connect with the world and connect people with each other as well.
Well, that's the important part. Is it sounds like you took a bunch of negatives, coming out of the ashes. I use the phoenix metaphor a lot, and coming out of the ashes to be your most authentic self. I mean, that's really. I'm keep embracing that for myself. I started my podcast 2 years ago, so we're running on 115 episodes plus, and we keep going. But the beginning was scary, as we all at that beginning, that first few moments, I guess for yourself also, when the world shut down and you had to pivot, it's scary. Like, oh my God. But then now you've built that authenticity. You actually went from moving from behind the scenes to now being in the front of the scenes. How does that feel for you?
I love it. And I'm kind of like in the between, introvert and extrovert. So I wouldn't say that like either of them, but I still love it because it's amazing that I can talk to so many people and I can connect, and they rely on me, as you said before. I really enjoy it. And maybe my husband, like who is the founder of our company, is less enjoying that part. So I think that's why it's a good combination that we do that. He loves to be behind the scenes and I love to be in the front. So yeah. Well, that works well.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is you have to find a balance, and it sounds like communication is really important to you, not only in the content creator, of course, because when you do that, you need to understand the issue, but also working with your husband, how to find the strengths and the areas that you support each other differently.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm not saying it's always easy, because it's not. When you work from home and when you have a son who goes to school and you work from home like 24/7 and you are basically closed in like one space with the whole family almost all the time. I'm not saying it's an easy peasy journey, but it definitely has its advantages as well. So yeah, I mean, we're used to it by now. It's like we're working from home for almost like 16 years. So that's fine. I mean, it's working out well.
Okay, well, I'm glad. Now, so the podcasting journey, the entrepreneur journey, what would you say to somebody who's just starting out?
The most important thing is just don't give up. Just keep going, because as we talked about, the beginning can be scary, and you won't get a paycheck like every month, and maybe you won't get a paycheck for a year. So, you just have to keep going, be persistent and consistent in what you do, whatever you do. And then, after a while, it will definitely reach your goal if you do it wisely. That's just so important. For me, it's consistency and persistency, for sure.
Yeah, no, and that's what it is. That's what I always talk about is consistency. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it, learning. So how do you learn? What's making you continue to grow, not only business-wise, but as a human being?
Actually, because of my clients and because of the host and the podcast hosts and all the people we know worldwide now, I have like coach friends, and they help me to get by when the world is crazy around us. And I have a lovely lady from the US, and he's into like brain coaching, and I love her sessions, like, bi-weekly, and that's amazing. And I have other friends in a different female network that I joined, and we support each other. It's kind of a sisterhood. And I learn a lot from them through networking and through like their, virtual universities. So I was always the person that I love learning. And I love learning languages since I was a kid. So this learning procedure is always, is inside me. And that's the same with business. If I can improve myself and, I get into a better stage in my business because I can improve myself, I love it. And I decided that 2023 is going to be more about self-care. And as I believe in the law of attraction, I try to practice that more and try to meditate more and try to just concentrate on myself, because last 2 years was pretty busy and hectic for us. But right now we just need to preserve ourselves for the future and for our family too. So you need to concentrate on those things as well.
Yeah. So how do you find that balance? And I'll ask you two questions at once so that you can answer them as you want. So one, how do you find that balance? Because obviously running a worldwide business, you're working across many different time zones. And the other question is, well, what do you do to take care of yourself? What are the items? It can't be all work, and there has to be, there has to be some play and balance. So if you can kind of weave that in, that would be awesome.
Sure. I mean, it's definitely not easy. And especially when you're in Europe and your clients are mostly in the US. So you just have to try to find, and I'm called the master organizer of our company. So I try to organize my day that, I do my usual like business stuff in the morning. And when I have my interviews, I do that in the evening. So I can, when you wake up in the US, so I can, do that together. But it's not easy to find a balance. It's never easy. But if if you are a good organizer and you schedule your day wisely, you can do that. And the other stuff you mentioned, that's like, how can you relax and how can you find that balance? I mean, what we do, obviously we spend time together with our families, but sometimes you just want to be alone after like a long day. And that's the time when I make some art. I make my collages on canvas, hands-on collages on canvas. I'm a bookworm. I love, listening to books. I love reading books. And I have a handpan. It's a huge instrument, and I love playing on it when I have time. So that's what relaxes me. Or a nice walk on the beach, by the Mediterranean Sea. That helps, relax your soul and body and everything.
Well, I think that's great. And that was really where I was going with. I want to make sure that everybody understands that there's more than just one thing. And each day you might feel differently. You might need to hear music. You might need to play music. And by doing those things, that's really where the power comes from. And, finding that balance, but making sure. So every day, do you always find that balance?
No, I don't.
Right. Yeah, no, right.
But, I try my best. I have the days, and I like 4 days a week. I do Tai Chi in the morning, but then you have those days when you're just like, okay, it's not about today. Obviously, you don't have to push yourself just to, strive for perfection when you want to relax. And when I have just, time for meditation for 5 minutes, I do only 5 minutes. I have 10 minutes, I do 20 minutes. But it's the consistency and the persistency as well when it comes to, self-care and finding the balance, that you just have to keep doing that. And it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, as long as you feel good and relaxed and you can just get on with the world and your job and clients.
Yeah, no, and we all understand that there is no perfection. Perfection is kind of an illusion. But I also love the fact that you said 5 minutes or 15 minutes or longer. That's what it is. That's the consistency. We sometimes beat ourselves up. I only worked out for 5 minutes. That's not going to do anything, but it does. It trains our brain that it tells us that we are important. I just put out something where I said, I am selfish almost every day, and I don't call it selfish. I call it actually love for myself. I make sure that I spend some time to take care of myself at each day. And once I do that, that becomes something really more powerful for anything else.
Absolutely. You just need that. Otherwise, you just burn out. And, there's no use of that for your family, for yourself, for no one. And we need to, focus on that. Maybe I think in Europe, we are a bit more relaxed than people in the US when it comes to that. So we have the weekends for ourselves. And I told my clients as well, it's like, I love you and I love working with you, but as it's Saturday, Sunday, I don't care. That's our day. So, and everything can wait until Monday. That's, the world's not going to stop without us. So yeah, it's important just to relax.
Well, that's what that bring a bat means, is those boundaries, those things that you need to say, no, those are my non-negotiables. And if working on the weekend for you, because, in the industry that we're in, and the things that we do, we're not doctors. This isn't a life or death situation. If a client misses a schedule, then somebody has to just deal with it. I know your clients don't, and your clients are, really responsive. But as a host, look, I've had that happen where somebody goes, "Oh, I forgot about it." I'm like, we send out emails regularly. I don't know, but that's okay. And we keep fine-tuning it. How do you fine-tune some of your business and things like that going forward?
It's not an easy job. You just have to be really focused on whatever you do. And I'm kind of a person who is can focus on things like 100% when I do my job, and I think that helps me a lot. And when I make up my mind, okay, there's no social media, nothing can disturb me. I had a friend once, and when I became an entrepreneur, she told me, and she was still working for a corporation, and she told me, it's like, oh my God, if I were you, I would just stay at home when I'm an entrepreneur and just sitting at home reading and enjoying myself. It's like, and I asked her, it's like, okay, but who's going to pay those bills? And,
right.
And that's not an entrepreneur's life, or you're not going to be an entrepreneur for long if you do that. So yeah, it's just the focus, and I give my 100% when I do my job. Maybe sometimes a bit, 120, but that's how I try to, to live my life and to help my clients as well. It's not easy, not all the time, and sometimes you just freak out about things. But who doesn't?
Yeah, no, exactly, and that, I think that's where we have to give ourselves permission to succeed and to fail. Failure doesn't mean that. It's forever. That's the thing we have to remind ourselves, is that failure is not forever. It's until you learn better, then do better. Or if you didn't succeed, and I like to use that word better than failure, because failure has that negative. But it's if we didn't succeed the way we want to, that's an opportunity to figure out what didn't go right. And as somebody who balances between corporate America and entrepreneurship, I understand it. Look, I love when I don't have to commute, or I don't, but then that's also, it's a slippery slope, because hey, if I just want to relax, I'm not doing what needs to get done, and I have to give myself that permission to do that, to give myself that. And it sounds like you give yourself permission, definitely on the weekends. Are there other opportunities? Because I know we've had email exchanges very early in the morning in the U.S., and as well as late in the night, which means early in the morning in Cyprus. So how do you balance, like, when you start and when you finish?
Yeah, I mean, I'm early bird catches the worm, so I'm up. And when you have a son, you have to make lunchboxes and stuff, and yeah, you are a mom as well. So it's like, this balancing the stuff between, home mom, to be a mom, and doing, like, being an entrepreneur and running an agency. So I'm up early in the morning, and when my brain is the best condition, when I'm fresh and rested, which doesn't happen all the time. But I do that, like, when it's important stuff, I try to do everything early in the morning. And then afternoon is my networking time, my podcast interview time. And yeah, because I can just focus on these things. So I try to split up my day. And when I finish, that's a good question, because when I have these networking meetings and stuff, sometimes it can be, 7, 8 p.m. our time, local time. So yeah, it's a bit tough. And I do have long days. I don't lie about that. So we work a lot together with my husband, but it's, still worth it. So I don't mind. And plus, you work from home. So, like yesterday, I had a networking event. Like, I think it was Kemi's Power Hour yesterday. And it was like, when it finished, it was 8. Okay, I'm just running to have a shower. And then just like to jump into bed afterwards. But you are home. You don't have to commute, as you said. So we can, split up those days and just it's all about organization. And I love that anyway. So for me, it's just splitting up the day and try to schedule it in the best way I can.
No, I think time management is the biggest key that people have to do, and they have to hold themselves to it. I think that's the biggest challenge is if you say 9 to 10, you're going to do whatever you're going to do, then, even if you don't do it that whole hour, I also believe in the Pareto optimization is where you work 25 minutes really hard and then you give yourself 5 minutes. So, even if you commit yourself to the hour and let's say you work hard 35 out of that, that hour, it's okay. It's not always good to push your car, put the gas pedal all the way down. So you just got to find the balance and giving yourself permission. I think that's something that you just said is giving yourself permission to do what you can do and not miss the podcast hour, which I've missed a couple of times lately because just time wise, and I've given myself permission. I would love to be there. It was a place where I've met some great people. But there's people, and that's the fear of missing out. So now that we're worldwide and with all the technology, how do you avoid that FOMO, that fear of missing out?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, when we are in the generation, I'm 43, so I was born in 79. So we are that generation that actually that was our age before the social media, before mobile phones. And then we got the mobile phones and the internet and everything. And I felt as an adult in my 30s, late 20s, I say, oh my God, this is pretty addictive. And I felt, and I used a lot. But then when COVID hit, I thought if I'm going to watch the news and follow social media, probably I'm going crazy. So I had a chat with my husband. We sat down and we said, okay, let's just stop everything we do. Don't follow happenings on Facebook or don't watch the news. We have a television, but we only watch Netflix or YouTube videos or whatever. But we don't follow the news at all. And my mom told me one day, it's like, how can you live like this? And but I told Mom, I mean, this is so relaxing for me that I don't have to follow all this craziness that's going around us. And if it's something important, we will know it anyway from someone or friends or family members or her, because she's going to tell me anyway that I don't want anything to know. And I think I reached that age that I don't really care what's going on social media and in other people's lives. And I'm not really interested. I try to focus on what's best for me and for my family. So, it just lost its, I don't know. I just lost its spark but that gives you that push, but otherwise I just don't really focus on. I use it for business because it's a great tool. But for personal use, I don't really do that anymore. Sometimes you log on, but I'm not focused on it anymore at all.
So we'll talk about your business, about the podcast hosting. How'd you get involved in it? Because, right, as you gather, I know you're obviously a guest here, and I'm very appreciative of that. But you're generally, I guess, an agent or somebody who helps bring on guests to podcasts. How'd you even think about doing that?
Yeah, that was, as I said before, the push that we got from my husband's mentor. So that's how we started. And it was like a completely different world. But I think it's so great because thanks to my organization skills and language skills and, communication skills, that helps me a lot, to talk to my clients. And, most of the work, what we do is a lot of research, a lot of connection with people, a lot of networking, and that suits perfectly us and the way we do business. So yeah, that's how we started. And it's some people doesn't even know why. It's like, do you need an agent to be on podcast? Like, well, you don't necessarily, but if you want to save time, money for yourself, probably it's a good idea to do that because that's what we do. We save that time, we save that energy that you waste on looking for podcasts. And
right,
we do that
right.
For you.
As you said earlier, even before the pandemic, there was 3 million podcasts, and the number definitely has gone up. I mean, I was one of those who started during the pandemic, And while other people have dropped off as well, the number is still way higher. I mean, it's a lot of places to go out there. And what would you suggest for somebody who's just starting now, either having a podcast or even like myself, who's been there 2 years, when we're looking for guests? How would we find people like you?
Yeah, I mean, mostly we do the other side around because we find the podcast for you, not the guest. So from our perspective, it's when you want to look for podcasts, obviously you have to do your research. And I think it's just so important to listen to that podcast. So
Sure.
don't approach the host with like general emails and you don't even know what the podcast is about. You're just sending out emails like one after each other. Just, do your homework and listen to 1, 2, 3 episodes if you have time to get the feel of the show. And even I know your show and, my guests were on your show. This morning, I, woke up, okay, I'm just going to listen to Dave's interview and I loved it. And so do your homework because that's really important. And, try to reach out to the host because the podcast hosts are human as well. So if you get in touch with them on LinkedIn, do that. And personalize your emails. Try to be unique and tell them what you liked about their episodes and what was good about their interview, because it's definitely, it's a great feedback for the host as well, that they're doing an awesome job. Plus, you seem like a guest who is prepared to do an interview with the host, and that's appealing for the host as well. And you're not just like, I heard about like all these horror stories that, like yoga teachers sending out emails to like an e-commerce show, because we do work with e-commerce clients and e-commerce hosts as well. And it's like, why did you send me that email? I have nothing to do with
I've had it on both sides where people are like, oh, I'd love to be on your show, or I meet people, I'd love to be on your show. I go, okay, then we need to talk about, are you willing to share a little bit about your personal life? No, I only want to talk about my business. Well, I go, that's not really what my podcast is about. And I have plenty of coaches on there. So and that's what I say, much like the conversation with you that we've had. I was like, I will definitely be more than happy to talk about your business because I think there's a lot of value in that. And there's people who want to do what podcasts, have their own podcast, and having our story is so important. But it's also, you have to know. That's why I really appreciate when the guests that you've sent me, and they really do fit. And the stories are amazing. And that's really what this podcast is about. It's about those inspirational stories.
Exactly. Share your story. Share your life, the business, how you started it. It's not podcast interviews. Don't treat podcast interviews as an advertisement for your business, because that's not going to work out. The listeners, your audience, they are not for the books and for the courses or the master classes. They are for to listen to someone's story and be inspired and learn something and get some knowledge from the interview that you are sharing. And it's not about a book that, like, I had this horror story again when authors get on podcast shows like, I wrote a book and this is all about this and that. It's like, that's so cool. But, like many people do that, and you just don't start and don't treat it as a free advertisement, because it's not. Just, it's so important to know.
Right.
That
you want to add value to the host also, right? That's where I always I always add value wherever I go in terms of, it's not about me. I will talk about myself, and sometimes I do overshare. I do all those things, but it's also a point of adding value. That's why the episodes that I have, I always say, like I did to you, it's going to be about you. How do you want the episode to go? Because it's not about me. It might be my show, but not about that. How do you find hosts? So again, diving into the white noise of podcasts, and you do it all. You have a lot of guests, and you have a lot of clients who become guests. But then, do you also bring on hosts into your network?
Yes, I think, and what is important and very interesting we love working with hosts, because you know what it's all about. So you don't start from scratch when for example, a host does, podcast guesting. So it's pretty cool, because you know what is all this business about. And now that the business is growing and, people trust us with their knowledge, with our knowledge and experience, it helps a lot of referrals and word of mouth. So, people start to listen to you and see you as a expert in that field. And it's a good feeling. So when they reach out to you and it's like, I loved working with you. And, that's the best feeling ever. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. When you hear somebody was like, "Oh, that was a lot of fun," after you record an episode, or again, those magical times when somebody was like, "I just listened to an episode, that was really good," and I'm like, "Great." I do try to curate what guests. I have a wide range of likes, but it's really special. So, how do you look for a guest? Because I'd like to let everybody also understand how they can come work with you.
Obviously, that's what the whole networking thing about. I mean, when you network with people and then you join different networking groups, it's a great way to get to know people, and they know who to turn to when they want to be guests on shows. So I think that's a great opportunity. Like working with Cami in the past, and it's just huge thanks to her, because I got together so many podcast hosts and even clients, many of them, and guests. So it's like, I think just to get to know people and get in touch with them and do a lot of networking. But because obviously when you start your business, you start your agency, you start to do those, cold calls and cold emails and everything. And that can be scary at the beginning, but then you get used to it before you build up your, client base. Yep. And after that, obviously, it's going to be much easier, because thanks to networking and thanks to people, and when you have like a couple of hundred, podcasts in your network that you work with, it's amazing, because once you have someone, it's like, when I talk to you today and I listen to what you say and how you express yourself, it's like, oh my God, David would be a great fit for this and that show. And your mind is always working. It's like, who should I, put them? How should I put them together? Who should I click with? What would be the best option for him? So it's funny, because your brain starts to work in this way. Okay, I need to connect them. This is crazy.
Well, that's the beauty of having a network, and it really is putting yourself out there. So for people who want to do it, that's why you should have a podcast. People should have a podcast, and like you said, those authors who just talk about their book. Oh, by the way, my book. No, it really is that. Put yourself out there and find your safe space, find your safe people, and really just keep going out there. I think that's great advice.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my motto in life. Anyway, not only in business, but in personal life, just keep going and never give up. And, I had a show, I think last week, and who got back to me after a year. I was really persistent, I have to say. And the host was like, okay. So I was like, I know you're sending me emails, but she had like personal stuff and sickness and everything in the family. But finally, we could organize an interview for my client. And, I didn't give it up. And I wasn't like a plug or something that didn't leave her alone. But, I try to find this balance. So I try to reach out to them. I know when to stop. But I know when, I can reach out to them again, and you just never give it up. You just keep going.
Well, I think that's what it is. It's that consistency and never giving up. Look, if they're not responding to an email, then that's fine. You don't do it every day. Don't overdo it, and just keep going. Okay. So I know we've taken a lot of your time, and I didn't. I don't know if you're prepared, but I always ask everybody. Can you give us an R word? And the reason why I always talk about an R word, we haven't done this in a while, is there's an R in your heart. So when you spell the word heart, but it's all about grounding. And that's what I really want to hear. I want to hear how you ground. And if it comes out with an R word, fine. If not, it's also okay. Because it's most important. I know we talked about our resources earlier, which is an R word. So if you kind of leave us with some seeds that might plant within our audience or people listening to this.
R word, yeah. I mean, it's definitely, I think it's like relaxation, or you're just release bad energies when it's time to do that. Yeah, and that gives you, I think, grounding. And my family, which I mentioned before, but that's not an R word.
Well, they're really important in your life. So
yes. So true, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, right, no, that was excellent. I like to do that. I have a shirt that we use, there's an R in your heart, and I'm able to switch the R word. So this weekend I'm speaking at an event that they wanted the R word to be real. We're going to have real talk and real things. So I sent all the people on the panel a couple of shirts. So we're all going to have these pink shirts talking about love. So I'm excited about that. So
that's brilliant. I love that.
So as we wrap up, is there any final gems? I mean, you've given a lot of information, a lot of great things, and of course we'll put your contact information in the show notes. Is there any information you'd like to part with us, parting words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom for me is what you have to stick to in business is self-discipline, time management, be persistent, consistent, and you will succeed. And I truly believe in that. And I think that's just so important. And have self-confidence, because I've seen so many amazing experts and clients of ours who were just there's no self confidence at all, and who are keynote speakers, and they still don't believe in themselves. And it's like, come on, people. I mean, you are great, you're good, and you should just, put yourself out there into the world and just be yourself and do your thing, and don't afraid of, and nothing to afraid of. These are just interviews, so come on, do that. But some people, they still have these issues, and I help them through the way when we work with them, and I love that, and they change. And this is the amazing thing when you see when people change, and by just doing podcast interviews. I love it.
That's awesome. That's great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the knowledge, explaining to us a little bit about how to get on podcasts, how to understand that, and look for people like yourself who will help you. So if you're scared, find people like Noemi and really figure out how to do it. And she knows some people. I joke about the charity work I do, the Goons for Good, because I know some people. Noemi knows some people as well. So thank you so much. So for everybody else, as always, we wish you peace and love. Thank you for joining us. I want you to make sure you have peace and love in your life as always. When you find those right boundaries, as we talked about earlier today, use those and hit your sweet spot and knock it out of the park. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that you're enjoying our show. Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat is brought to you by Launchpad 516 Studios. Executive produced by David Chemetsky and George Andriopoulos. Music selections by James Grant, Zach Nelson, and James Gaither, and licensed through Storyblock. Sound effects and sponsorship music licensed through Epidemic Sound. Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat is hosted with Podbean. Subscribe to our show wherever podcasts are available. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and share with all of your friends. Follow us on Facebook at Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. Follow me, Uncle Dave Chemetsky, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Clubhouse. You can find all those links and more info at davidchemetsky.com. For show ideas, feedback, guest inquiries, or just a chat, reach out to me at peacelovebringabat@gmail.com. For sponsorship and media inquiries, reach out to peacelovebringabat@lp516.com. Make sure to follow all the great podcasts produced by Launchpad 516 Studios. Today's journey has come to a close, my friends. I hope the seeds of peace and love continue to grow for each one of you. Remember that peace and love surrounds you and will assist you to rise again. But don't forget to bring it back for what you believe in. Namaste.